All right, today we are digging into a proposed bill that could completely rewrite the UK's approach to immigration and borders. It's called the Sovereignty and Border Security Bill, and we're going to break down what's inside.
Now, this isn't just some vague idea or talking point. We're talking about a fully drafted 80-page document written up just like a real act of parliament. It's a detailed blueprint for a radical overhaul of the system.
So the big question is, what's actually in this thing? We've gone through the source material to unpack the key proposals for you, from the massive legal changes right down to the on-the-ground enforcement. Okay, first things first. To understand this plan, you have to get this. The entire thing is built on tearing up the old legal rulebook. It starts by changing the very foundations that have shaped UK human rights and immigration law for decades. The bill's very first move makes its intention crystal clear. It's a complete withdrawal from two huge international agreements, the European Convention on Human Rights and the 1951 Refugee Convention. At the same time, it would repeal the UK's own Human Rights Act. The document argues this is absolutely essential to restore what it calls sovereign control over the country's borders. And it sets out a very specific clock for this. Just 14 days after the bill becomes law, the official notices would go out. But here's the thing. Both of those big conventions have a built-in one-year notice period. So the UK wouldn't be legally free of them for a full 12 months. Now, to protect these new powers from getting tied up in court, the bill includes a very powerful legal tool called an Ouster clause. What's that? Well, it's basically a legal stop sign for the courts, telling them that they can't review or challenge decisions made under this new law. It's designed to limit judicial oversight. Right, so once that new legal foundation is set, what happens next? The plan lays out a brand new system for migrants, and it comes with some very serious consequences for anyone entering the UK without permission. And this is a crucial change. The bill would create a new criminal offense, not an administrative one, but a criminal one called unlawful presence in the UK. This means just being in the country without the right papers could land you in prison for up to 5 years. The plan also details something called an expedited removal process. Let's walk through it. Step 1, authorities find someone without valid leave. Step 2, that person can be physically removed, gone, within just 7 days. And step 3, the appeal. Any legal challenge can only be launched after you've already been deported. But the plan doesn't just focus on migrants. A huge part of it turns its attention to another group, people it calls facilitators. Basically, anyone who helps someone who is here unlawfully. And you really have to see how incredibly broad this definition of facilitation is. We're talking about knowingly providing basics like a place to live, a ride, a job, financial services, or really any kind of logistical help to someone without legal status. And in case you're wondering how broad, just listen to this. This is a direct quote from an annex to the plan. It says, the term facilitators explicitly includes lawyers, legal aid charities, immigration NGOs, and even religious institutions if there's a reasonable suspicion that they're helping. So what happens if you're convicted of facilitation? The penalties are incredibly severe. It's a triple threat. You could face up to 15 years in prison. Plus, you could be banned from being a company director for 15 years. And on top of all that, it would be mandatory to forfeit all of your assets. So how would they catch these facilitators? Well, the plan sets up a really powerful whistleblower scheme. It's designed to encourage people to come forward with information by offering total anonymity, legal protection from any kind of penalty, and even police protection and priority for secure housing if they're threatened. And here's the real kicker. There's a huge financial incentive. Whistleblowers who provide a tip that leads to a conviction or asset seizure could get a reward, a tax-free reward, by the way, of up to £10 million in a single case, paid for from the assets that were seized. So you've got these new laws and these severe penalties. But how would you actually make it all happen? Well, the final part of the plan details the operational machine that's designed to make this whole system work. This is fascinating. The entire system is designed to be self-funding. The assets seized from convicted facilitators get ring-fenced and split up. 40% would go to a fund for homeless housing and welfare in the UK, 30% would go right back into the budget for border force and enforcement, 20% would fund the whistleblower rewards, and the final 10% would be set aside in a legal war chest to fight court challenges. Now, enforcement isn't just about physical actions and freezing bank accounts. There's a whole psychological element here. In fact, one of the annexes is literally titled the Psychological Operations Plan, and it calls for deploying, quote, online counter-narratives to discredit what it calls pro-migration activist groups. And the tactics laid out are really specific. We're talking about running paid social media ads in other countries, producing foreign language videos that show things like dawn raids and deportations on military planes, and creating a name-and-shame online public registry of anyone convicted of facilitation. The clear goal is deterrence, and making all this happen would be a huge coordinated effort. The so-called financial warfare plan brings in the whole of government. You'd have the Treasury with the power to freeze assets instantly, the National Crime Agency would conduct audits, the Charity Commission could suspend a charity's trustees and freeze its funds, and the Home Secretary would even have the power to authorize the closure of religious institutions. And finally, the plan knows it would face a storm of legal challenges. So it has a strategy for that too. It's called legal warfare, and its stated objective is to, and I'm quoting directly here, neutralized activist lawyer networks to stop them from blocking these actions in court. So when you put all the pieces together, what the source material describes is a truly radical vision for border control, one that's built on complete legal independence and extremely aggressive enforcement. And it leaves us all with a fundamental question. What is the right balance between a country's national security and the liberty of an individual? And in any society, who gets to decide where that line is drawn?